Hey there, welcome to my channel. Today we will start a backend tutorial series, which is a commercial application I have built for clients, and I have decided to contribute some of the modules to helping people out there. This is an application bundle which is written in Node.js using TypeScript. The business logic is written to handle online food delivery application in microservices architecture. These services are written the way to communicate each other through API gateway and messaging queue. So I will illustrate the project pipelines quickly so you can get a rough understanding of this series. Firstly, we will write the code in monolithic way to make you comfortable so you can get a good grasp of the application module and functionality, and we will increase the degree of the complexity and coding pattern episode by episode so you can easily adapt these changes to make yourself a pro in Node.js with TypeScript ecosystem. We will start introduce advanced level of Node.js concepts where you can see classes, dependency injections, abstraction layer, ORM, DTO, and other advanced level of features. You can see how we can organize our code to maintain DevOps and deploy on the Docker container to manage through Kubernetes. So let's check it out. What are the application features will be exist? There are 5 modules we will cover in this tutorial series. Admin module, vendor module, customer module, shopping module, and delivery modules. Each and every module will be work independently, but at the beginning we will write the whole application in monolithic way, and we will try to accomplish each and every module's functionality first. After that, I will make you understand how the microservices is working in Node.js and how each and every module is communicating with each other through different techniques. So this is the overview of the modules, and we will use NoSQL indexing and the caching mechanism in this application, so where you can get a little bit idea about like MongoDB and how Elasticsearch is working. We will introduce Firebase and location service also, where you can see how the real-time location is working for customers and delivery persons. And we will integrate social login also here, where customer can log in using their social accounts. After that, we will introduce OTP model through Twilio, so where you can see how we can handle the OTP stuff, like right before placing the order, how we can validate the customer contact number and all those things. After that, we will integrate the payment gateway, Stripe and the PayPal. And after that, we will work on the notification stuff, how we can send the notification to iOS and Android devices, and as well as how we can send the email from the Node.js backend. After that, we will cover some advanced topic of the Node.js, how API gateway, message queue, and the microservices is working inside the Docker container, how we can manage our container through orchestration tool like Kubernetes, and routing our endpoints. Finally, we will deploy our product on the cloud like AWS and DigitalOcean. I hope you can learn much more good things to make a production ready backend and microservices to deploy on the cloud happily. So let's go to coding. We will create our project here. Right before jumping into the create project, you need to make sure you have installed Node.js in your machine. So you can get Node.js from this URL, nodejs.org. Then you can install the latest version of Node.js from here. Right after install the Node.js, you can get the version of the Node.js installed in your machine by typing npm is the package manager, which is automatically come with the Node installation. And if you are comfortable with yarn, then you can use yarn also. We will create our project directory here. Right, we are getting inside the project directory. Now type npm init, and it will ask you a couple of questions. We are just giving as by default whatever it is right there, and eventually it will ask for everything is all right. Then we are saying yes, and it's created now. Right, so we are opening this whole project in our code editor. I'm using Visual Studio Code. So this is our configuration file of the Node project. We will install a couple of dependency, which is automatically it will come over here. One more thing we need to do, because this project we will write the whole source code on TypeScript. So we need to make sure, like, we are generating the TypeScript stuff. So for that thing, you can install the TypeScript globally in your machine, and otherwise you can install the TypeScript locally also. So I have installed TypeScript in my machine globally. How to install TypeScript globally in your machine, you can check it. Here you can get the correct repository, and it will guide you how to install all those things directly. Now I'm going to generate a TypeScript configuration file that is called tsc. That's this. So it will create our TypeScript configuration file, which will support to compile our TypeScript stuff. Okay, so I'm not making too much complicated because there are a lot of configuration we need to do right here in this file. in order to compile our stuff. But by default, whatever it is right there, that is perfectly fine for us for a while. And later on, we will explore the TypeScript TS configuration file. Okay, so we will install a couple of dependencies right here. And we need to install the type definition file also. So now what we will do, now we will create a file that is called index.ts, and our package.json file here we will so here inside the script object we will add one more parameter that is going to be like start. Whenever inside the script the start will run, then it will run our project. Now in this index.ts file we will put couple of stuff. Right, so our app is listening to put 8000, but we need to add something to check whether we are able to communicate with our application or not. Right, so our this is our beginning. Let's check it out. Our application is working or not. So start. 1000 seems it is working. Right, we need to create a bunch of directories to organize our source code first, and after that we will create our modules here. Alright, so these are the directories we have created. So config directory we will keep all the application configuration files here, and controller will take care of our business logics and all those things, and DTO will be a data transfer objects. Whenever we are sending some request, what kind of pattern it will be and what kind of data only we will accept, and all those things we will put inside the DTO. Images, we will store all the images related to our customer, related to foods and the vendor, we will keep it here. Middleware is a kind of function which is handling our P request, and it is processing some logic, and afterward it is handed over the request to the next function. Models, we will keep our models right here. Routes, we will keep our routes file which is going to be handle our endpoints, and after that services, we will keep the all services related to application processing and all those things. Utility, we will keep all utility files in terms of like handling the helper function and all those things. Okay. So here in the routes folder, I'm going to add a couple of routes. And inside the route, we will put one more file. That is called index.ts. So whenever we will look for a specific route or specific file, and then we will just point to this specific route directory only, and it will give us all. And inside the admin route, we will put a couple of stuff. So our route is ready. So admin route, what we will do here, we will put a dummy function. So this is available now. In index file, we will just utilize all those things. I'm going to remove this this default function here, which is we have placed earlier. Here you will import our routes, which is we have created. Right, so we can check these things from our browser here. Admin route is working, and the vendor route will gonna work from there. So vendor route also working. First of all, we will create a controller to handle the admin route stuff. So that will become inside the controller, and yes. So this is here create vendor will call it will be a kind of post method. Here we need to create a route to handle our create vendor function. Router dot, and it will be a post method, and endpoint will be our vendor, and it will handle by create vendor function. So as you can see, it is coming from admin controller, but we don't need every time the specific controller, I mean by file name. So what we will do, we will create a file here. That will be perfectly fine. I'm going to make these things full screen so we can side by side we can see logs also, so it will not get disturbed. And since it is getting a lot of things like the whole console is full, so what we will do, we will put a line here to clear our console. Now it is clear. That's good. Here in admin route, this vendor post will handle to create vendor here. And one more method we will create which will get our created vendor. So that get vendor and get vendors, and it will be our get by ID. Right, these are the three methods we will implement right there. So in admin controller, we copy. This one will be our get vendors. It will be our get vendors. And one more we will record. That is also a kind of get function. Add vendor, but this time we need one ID. This ID parameter we will use to get the specific vendor. So here, vendor ID. So the way we will pass it here in the browser is something like this. Localhost, and here will be vendor by some ID number. So this ID will go right there, here. Okay. So first of all, we will create a vendor. After that, we will take care of the rest of all those things. To create a vendor, a couple of things we need. Whatever input request, the input stuff, it will come. Then we will create a DTO, which is called data transfer object. So rest of all, whatever the required parameters, that is only we will accept. Rest of other stuff we will simply skip. Here we will create a DTO file that is gonna be like DTO.ts. Right, so create vendor input is created here, so which we will utilize here inside the admin controller, but we will export this DTO file here. Inside the create vendor function, we are accepting the request. In that request, we will have the post data also. Somehow we need to fetch out the post data. So for that thing, we will use some library, which is we have already installed. So let's import these things first, and then we will move forward. So right after the app. Because we will be dealing with the files also, or multi-part from the form data also. That's why we need to have this option also inside the body parser. So our body parser is done. So now let's try to deconstruct all those things here. We will accept the specific parameters only, which is we have created inside the DTO. That is going to be like vendor create vendor inputs. Okay. So now we will get the requested parameters here. Whatever the request we will sending from the client, then we will request in this form only, and this much of the data only it's required. So later on also we will add the validation in terms of like how it will go through the DTO. I will show you, but this is not the right time to go through the validation and all those things, because we have a lot more to cover. So first of all, let's save this user information in the database. Okay. So right before all those things, so let's see the request is accepting or not. So So to check the REST API and all those things, what we will do, we will use the Postman here. If you don't have a Postman, then you can install it. All right, here from admin section. From admin section, we will create our vendor. So these are the data that is coming as raw. These are the data we're just sending, and it is a kind of JSON format. You select a raw here, and we are sending as a JSON. Right. So these are the data we will sending to create a request. Okay. So send it, and it is giving back exactly the same data. It seems our request is going through. Now we need to create some database where we will save our vendors. Now, right before data integration, what we need to do, we need to make such a model to save the vendor data. Okay. So inside the model directory, we will create a model that is going to be like vendor. Right before making the model, we need to install a couple of dependencies to handle database interaction. So as I told you in the beginning of this tutorial, we will use the NoSQL. So MongoDB is the best choice of the NoSQL. So we will use the MongoDB here. So Mongoose we will install a library that is called Mongoose. So that library will be handle the all database interaction with us. So here, right. So Mongoose is installed. Here in the package.json file, as you can see, this here it's installed. So we will create our model here now. First of all, a couple of things we will import here. So first of all, we need to create one interface. Property will be pretty much similar. By extending some more property here, we are just taking this all those parameters from here, and go to vendor. Here we'll paste it here. So name will be string, and now we will create this schema in order to work with the MongoDB. So have you seen here this small letter string is not working wherever this small letter string is working with the TypeScript. So this is a kind of like a MongoDB convention for data types. We will follow a capitalized version for MongoDB and small letter version for the TypeScript. And here is not saying like right. So and this is not required, and current is also the like we have string originally number that's not required. And push also the kind of correct. Where we keep something likely so syntax also and regularly eventually we keep the push up. So now we have that's also good. Here we need to add one more thing that's like our timestamp. So this timestamp will enable like when we will create when it is created and updated, it will add automatically those two fields. Now we will create the model here. Like once. Why you have created this vendor? Because if you are creating this vendor object, or if we are creating this vendor model from somewhere else, then we will not get the type sense in terms of like, and it will not get to know like what kind of data it will come to this model. So in order to enable the code sense or the available properties, then we need to provide this vendor doc right here. Okay, now we will export our model here. Vendor only. That's vendor. We can just comment this out here, ports, and this is also we can comment this out. Let's see is it creating or not properly. First of all, we need to create one index file here. So we will export our models here rather than pointing the files, we will access directly pointing the directory, the model directory, admin controller. Here we will create our vendor. So at least it is not complaining, so our create vendor gonna work. Here we will put a width, because this vendor create vendor will return a kind of promise. Right here, as you can see, this promise. Right, but before execute all those things, we need to hook up our database connection. So in index file, here we will import mongoose. And inside the config directory, I am going to create a file that is going to be like index. Here inside the index.ts file, we will declare we will add our URI. That is going to be like database URI const. Here this MongoDB local URL I'm using. I have installed MongoDB in my local machine, so that's why I'm using this URL. If you have not installed MongoDB in your machine, then you can use the cloud MongoDB also by simply logging to the cloud.mongodb.com. Right here, cloud.mongodb.com. So here you need to create a cluster first, and after that you need to create you need to add user. That is, you need to create a new cluster by clicking here. You can select all those options, whatever options are available right there. This is very easy to create a cluster right there. Okay, and once you have created the cluster, then go to database access in the security, and here you can create a database user right there by providing some kind of like user ID password. All right, so and you can give access of like read write or whatever the rules are there, you can add there right there. And so once everything is done, then go to the cluster once again, and whatever the running cluster, you can get it here, and click on the connect. Here connect with your application. Here, this one, just click here, then you can get this string. Just copy this string, and same you can use right here also, something like paste it here. So here your username will be go right there, and your password will be go right there, and the rest of all those things will become over here. And the read write full, these things it's not required, and if you can leave it by default also you can leave it, but this much is enough, like your DB name you can put it there. I'm not going to use this one because I have already Mongo installed in my machine, so rather than consuming the cloud one, I'm going to use my local one. That's up to you. Right, so what I'm going to do, I will create a new tab, and I will start. And this is suppose online foods, and food delivery. Okay, so my Mongo is running here perfectly. Good. So this Mongo URI we will use. Now what we need to do, we need to connect our Mongo here. To connect mongoose dot connect, and we will use Mongo URI, which we have created recently. Mongo URI, and a couple of settings parameter we need to provide here. That is, we will do. First of all, use new URI cursor, true, and unified topology will be true, and this create index, that is also true. These are the settings we need to provide in order to work properly. So these are the settings additionally we are providing for our application. Then we can check like then yes. Good. So here, now we will start our application. Okay. So start. Right, since it is working perfectly, there's no error, right? So these are the database log while it is connecting. This result is giving back. So I'm not intending to keep these things because it will make our whole console dirty. So we will just simply log connected. So again, we will get back to the admin controller, and here, all right. So we can give it a try to create the vendor, but we need to return this vendor also right here. So rather than sending back all those things, I'll just paste it here. I'll just use the create vendor. So once the vendor is being created, then we need to just get it back in this response. Okay. So we're sending. Okay, it is not sending. Something is going wrong. Right, salt is required. Okay, what it is? Why it is happening? Because salt is required, and we are giving some empty stuff. So rather than sending empty, we will provide some data. Definitely, salt will be not can be empty, because I'll tell you why we need the salt parameters right here in database. So, okay, now let's create this thing. Okay, as you can see, it is giving some response, right? So we have successfully created our vendor. But what is this? This password is coming right here, and the salt is also coming right here. So these are the stuff is not required, and updated and created, and dash b. Some of the data it is not necessarily need to get back. So those stuff, those are the items we need to restrict in the model level to getting back while it is giving some response. Okay. So let's take care one by one. First of all, what we will do, we will check like whether the vendor is recreated or not. First of all, if the vendor is created, then and we cannot create once again, because now, as you can see, again and again I can create many vendor. I can create only one vendor with some unique ID in terms of like we can consider mobile number or phone number, or maybe we can consider email ID. So I think the email ID will be the best way. Or we can keep combination of the email ID and phone number, but for a while we'll just keep the email ID only. So for that thing, what we will do, we will check whether a vendor is existed by that specific email ID or not. Okay, and after that we will create the vendor. Else it will be create a new vendor and it will go through. So let's check this out here. So this time I'm going to put test one, and whatever it is, all this information, let's say first restaurant, and send. It is created. Next time again we are sending back, it is saying like a vendor already exists. Okay, it's a typo, a little bit XST. So since our existing vendor functionality is working perfectly fine, if vendor is already exists, then it will not create with the same email ID, then it will create a new one. And now we need to take care of the password. So somehow we need to encrypt the password. As you can see here, this is the plain password, and it is giving back. To encrypt the password, we will use a package that is going to be like npm install bcrypt. So this specific package will take care of encrypt our password using some kind of the unique codes. That is we are assigning here, that is called salt, and we will keep save the salt while we will save the data. So ideally the things will be like, first we will generate the salt. Generate a salt, and after that we will encrypt the password using the salt. And again, whenever user will log in, then we will use the same existing salt along with the provided password to compare the existing password is the same or not. If it is same, then we will let the vendor to log in, and we will give the access of the data. So that is the thing. So first of all, what we will do, we will create a one file here inside the utility. That's all. Yes. And import. And export. Right. So one more function we need to use, that is gonna be like export. And we will provide some specific and we'll provide some specification like password to be string and salt also the string and to return. So it will generate our password using the same salt. So these are the things we need to use there. So again, we will create an index file here. Yes, and we'll ready from password. Bcrypt. Okay, so we have installed only Bcrypt, so we need to install the type definition file also. You can install by. Now I think the error has gone. Yes, now error is gone. That's good. So now we can utilize these two functions right there in admin controller to generate the salt. So first of all, we will generate the salt here. So let's confirm with these things like password and salt. That's perfectly fine. So now what we will do, instead of this password, we will provide user password, and instead of this salt, dummy salt, we will provide this salt. Okay, so it seems like the second step also done. And since here password and salt is displaying, so first of all, just try it out whether our password is encrypted or not. That is, we need to check it out. So what we will do, we will create one more user here. This time, suppose demo@this2.com. Create. Now as you can see, the password is encrypted and this is our salt, but we don't need to show our password and salt by default, and a couple of more data also that is not needed. So we need only some meaningful information, that is whatever it is necessary. So that is, we can restrict in our model level. So we will go to the model here. So write this thing, let it be, that's perfectly fine. So later on while we will work on the put section, then we need to enable these things. That will be to JSON. So here we can transform our model's information while we were retrieving to JSON or object. Okay, so first of all, we are interested in JSON. So while we will return data to JSON, then and after that reason. So what we will use so this password, this password here, and we don't need delete. So not delete and delete this version of the version number. Okay, that version number 2, and after that what we will delete. This is not so we can keep this and that. No error, it's fine. So now let's create one more demo@this2.com. Now as you can see, it is clean, right? So these are the things exactly it is needed. So we have successfully created our vendor, and it seems some of the things we have organized, but a lot of things still we need to do. So that is, we will take care in the next part, where we will add more functionality in terms of like retrieving created vendor, and we can add some functionality to the vendor also, to getting login and to adding some food and all those things. So see you in the next episode. Thank you.